conversations could possibly stimulate thinking about formatting change that really does serve various populations on other levels, like the boards of health, or like the ag and forestry commissions. You know, something that really is tied to, you know, people's needs and interests, really specifically, and not in an aggregate sense like purchasing and all that kind of stuff.
From a public health perspective in Hampshire County, there's the haves and the have-nots. There's, you know, there's the Quabbin Health District, there's the city of Northampton, there's Amherst. Everything else is either part-time or very small. Though East Hampton and South Hadley do run programs as well too. Everybody else is kind of, so it's like the haves and the have-nots. It's the people with capacity and the people without capacity. Just that can cause a lot of tension because the cities and towns with capacity are at a totally different level when it comes to delivering services than the towns without it.
So that's one lesson maybe if the council wants to think about getting some of the big dogs back. Make sure you have approaches and services and people who are prepared to deal with them on their level.
From my perspective, I think there is some value to at least exploring the idea. They're of merging Franklin and Hampshire COGS. There are many other entities that work on a Hampshire and Franklin kind of basis together already. You know, so it's not an unusual marriage. There are other programs and services, state and otherwise, that already look at. And my sense is that from the eastern part of the state, they just think it's all one county anyway.
They already collaborate with each other to try to represent us. But if there were, you know, if there were planning and the same message coming out too on this level, then that may make for a little bit stronger voice, you know.
It's like you need to be positioned to be able to take advantage of these things as they come out. Look what incentives the federal government's offering, that state government's offering. I mean, right now it's green energy, also a lot with regionalization, a lot with public health. You know, we have been lucky these last few grant cycles getting a lot of additional funding. So I would think that might be a role for the COG as well too, having the people on staff that could help the towns position themselves to take advantage of, you know, money that's flowing down the pike and you know, jumping on it. Because a lot of times we know there's stuff out there, we just don't have anybody locally to help us write that grant, get it together.
Or research.
Or research it, or pull it together.
We think that on the residential level there will be some percentage of people in the Pioneer Valley, 1%, 5%, 10%, who would be willing to pay more for green energy. Essentially all it will take for us is just, you know, writing the appropriate paperwork and just doing it, figuring out a price.
The concept of green energy is very desirable.
Yeah.
As Jim said, we're currently putting a solar system on our fire station that was paid for in part $30,000 by clean energy funds, and we're well on our way to being approved for an additional match from Commonwealth Solar. Where the council's already obligated to provide a certain amount of power in their program, that could be a marketing advantage, and if you wanted to set your sights on a higher percentage and say, this is what the law requires, but we're offering power at, if it's 4 to 6, and folks will, not everyone, but folks will.
You know, people who are managing a municipality, I really want them to be looking at the bottom line along with the green energy thing, and you really have to balance that out. But I think the residential stuff would be great.
And, you know, we keep saying that the greenest energy is the one is the energy you don't use. So insulating your house is the greenest possible energy you can have. We're talking about how to get into. There is money associated with the residential supply and municipal aggregation and the like, and how to spend that money in terms of conservation, which is really, for most people, is probably a bigger component than, you know, When you buy it from a windmill, that might make you feel good, but actually, if you turn your lights off, you're probably doing more for the environment, as well as for your own pocketbook.